Welcome, everybody. I'm excited today to have Rusty Brett from HoundDog joining us to talk about how they can help with streamlining the subcontractor compliance, automating your COI collection. This is something that really is important to me when I ran the construction company where I started JobTread at. So very much excited to have Rusty joining us. Before we get into it, though, just a couple quick things. Again, for those of you who are not already part of our JobTread Pros Facebook group, we've now, I think it's over 3,500, 3,600 members are part of this group. It's a great place to connect, to collaborate with other JobTread users. You get sneak peeks about features coming out. We put out a teaser earlier in the week about the messaging feature that was, got a lot of traction, a lot of hype created there. So definitely a great place to connect with the JobTread team and other JobTread users. So we hope if you're not in there yet, please do get in there. It's a really awesome community. Also want to point out we have JobTread Beginner Bootcamps. We've got 2 more that we're doing this year. The next one will be next week, next Thursday and Friday. So if you're interested in that, it's not too late. You can go ahead and grab a ticket. Or if you wanted to catch the next one, October 24th to the 25th, this is a great way to have a 2-day, really intensive hands-on learning to very quickly get up to speed with JobTread. We've had a lot of great feedback on the first couple that we've done, so we're very excited about that. If it's something that you're interested in, also feel free to talk to your customer success manager. We'd be happy to kind of tell you a little bit more about it. But you can also learn right there on our website, right under resources, you can learn more about the boot camp. And we've also got, let's see, next slide here. We've got our JobTread Connect coming up. We are really excited that we finally have got all the dates announced. We've rolled out the early bird tickets. We do have around 100 left. So if you're interested, if you came last year, you definitely want to grab your tickets. It's an awesome event here in Dallas, Texas, January 15th to the 17th. Lots of information is available on the website. So be sure to grab your tickets, and can't wait for this event. This is going to be, we're taking it up a whole nother level from last year. So definitely grab those before they're gone. And just want to remind everyone again about Builder Stories. This is our podcast. We publish new episodes every Wednesday. You can catch it on all your usual podcast apps, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, all the regulars there. We got great episodes, again, just learning from other construction business owners, how they got started, the lessons they've learned along the way, what's working, what's not, really awesome resource that I hope everyone tunes into. All right, so without further ado, I want to introduce Rusty here, but before I do, I think a lot of you may have heard my story, maybe you haven't, but when I first took over the construction company that I ran back in 2018, I got a very quick lesson in the importance of tracking our subcontractors and their insurance and all of that. When literally right after I took over the business, we got audited by our insurance company. And they said in order for us to, renew our policy, they wanted us to share all of our certificate of insurances from the previous 12 months. Well, I thought, all right, cool, no problem. Let me, go back to the office and figure out, kind of where they are, and let's get them up and we'll send them over. And, the office lady, she kind of started scratching her head saying, well, I know we collect them when they started, but we weren't actually collecting them along the way unless they sent it in. We didn't remind them. Sometimes people never got it to us, like excuse after excuse after excuse. Well, turns out we only have about half of them. We end up getting fined $35,000. The insurance company said that we had taken on this additional liability, even though they're nothing happened. There were no theft, no damage, no deaths, no injuries. We had no claims, but we still had taken on this additional liability from their perspective, and we had to pay $35,000. Or they weren't going to renew our policy, and we would have to go back out, to the market. And so, this is really, I learned firsthand, the importance of making sure that you do have all of the documentation that you need from your subcontractors, and so I really hope that everyone will take my word for it, that it's so important that you're on top of this. And regardless how you do it, you got to make sure that you are tracking when you need to get that information, when you need to make sure that you're getting your renewals, you're getting your sub COIs. It is just not worth sending subcontractors to a job site if you are at risk, if you could potentially, have something happen. It's just not worth it. And so I got really, really excited when Rusty, showed me what he was building at HoundDog and how this could really help to automate a lot of that tedious process of collecting this information. And so, we got to talk, and I looked at it. I actually introduced him to a handful of JobTread customers who they shared their experiences with them. And they all came back to me and said, man, this sounds awesome. Sounds too good to be true. I can't believe it's as cheap as it is. Like, there were so much great feedback that, we encouraged Rusty to build an integration directly into JobTread so that this could be further automated, and we could really roll this out together as part of the JobTread ecosystem. And, they took a couple months, they built it out, they came back to us, and I was just, again, really excited. So, we've asked Rusty to come on here and to not only tell and talk about the integration, but I want him to also make sure that everyone has the education that you need to make sure that you understand, what is involved in this and what is the importance and why that everyone should care about this. So, Rusty, I'm going to turn it over to you. I appreciate you, and I'll be here happy to answer questions, and look forward to seeing what you got for us.
Very good. Yeah, thank you for that intro, guys. I'm just pleased to be here. HoundDog is a passion project for me. I basically, out of school, I became a commercial insurance producer. That's all I did was I literally insured contractor after contractor. And I saw this problem over and over, just exactly what Eric was talking about. I insured contractor. They try to do a good job of keeping up with COIs, and they just couldn't. It's just very hard, very tedious. So that's literally what we wanted to build, which is HoundDog. So the premise basically is we use AI and machine learning to collect, read, and verify certificates of insurance. So we expanded our product suite over the years. We really started out, we just want to just be the best COI company, tracking company we could be. And then again, over the years, we've collected, can now collect additional vendor compliance documents, W-9s with online signatures, contracts, lien waivers, have a document repository we can, drop in safety documents if you wanted. So, thank you so much for this. This is really exciting to be part of this webinar today. And Eric, thank you for the intro.
Absolutely.
Okay, so a few things here. We, like I said, HoundDog clients, we've got a various different types of clients. So we have the contractors. That's a big piece for us. That's where we started. We want to do really well with the contractors. And we have a lot of JobTread customers now on here, and some that aren't, although maybe they should all be JobTread customers. We also have a ton of other organizations. And I'm not even sure, Eric and I talked about this a lot, but, University of Missouri may be a good example. They track 3,000 vendors. Well, they're just like a contractor. They have to get COIs from those vendors. So we kind of span construction, absolutely being our core, but we also have a lot of larger companies that really track a ton of certs. And you can imagine their problem tracking, 3,000 vendors, not easy to do. Okay, so today, I don't want to go through a few things. I think Eric hit the nail on the head. We don't want to talk about HoundDog this whole time. I think that we do want to bring some value in terms of education about the insurance side. Like, what should you be looking out for? What should you be asking for? So, why is COI tracking so important? How can we save money on insurance and avoid audit surprises? COI tracking strategies, and then how the HoundDog plus JobTread integration can help. So those will be kind of the keys here. So first off, why is COI tracking so important? And let me back up. For those of you that may not know this, a COI is literally a document that it just gets handed out readily, essentially proving that you have insurance as a business. So, if you and I have an auto ID card, that's how we prove that we have auto insurance. The COI is how a business proves they have insurance. So that's, again, you guys probably all know this, but I just want to mention that that's how people prove that they have insurance. Okay, so why is COI tracking so important? It's there to reduce risk. I mean, you just need to track these because there's a financial and legal risk when contractors hire other contractors. It is, the courts have just said, this is literally like an employee-employer or employer-employee situation. It's literally almost that tight. So, you just have to get those COIs. Let's talk about general liability exposure. If a sub causes property damage, or an injury claim, and normally their insurance will respond, right? Well, unless they don't have insurance. Well, guess what happens? Then it comes back on the general. So really important to have a COI from a general liability standpoint. And then work comp. Hopefully they have comp. But if they don't, let's say they don't have comp at all, it's going to come back on your policy. And sometimes you're like, I don't need comp. My state says I don't have to have it. But what if that sub hires a part-time employee who gets hurt? Guess who's going to be responsible? So there are a lot of things in motion here. I know that you have a lot of subs that don't have probably work comp because they're a sole proprietor. I'm still not so sure they shouldn't. I know that's hard, but I just want to mention they probably should. And basically, if you don't transfer risk, you could be responsible, of course. So, that's the key here. Okay. 3 ways to help you reduce risk. One is make sure your construction company is properly insured. General liability, work comp at a minimum, you might as well get an umbrella. It's usually not that much more. So obviously you guys probably all have that. You're probably set there. Make sure your subs have both GL and work comp on their COI. So, I know that contractors are generally better at requiring GL than comp. However, truly, it's best practices for all businesses to carry work comp, even if not required by statute. So, if you have an employee who gets hurt, that doesn't mean, even though you may not need work comp by statute, that doesn't mean you're not responsible. So if you take that even further, the sub, just that relationship is tighter, and then the subs, potential employees, it's there as well. Again, many of your subs may be sole proprietors with no employees, but how do you know? How do you know? So what can you do? There are low-cost employer excluded policies that are out there, and they'll pick up the exposure of a part-time employee. So there's this concept that's called it's a ghost work comp policy, is what we used to call it back in the agent world. I think it's probably still out there, but a ghost work comp policy basically is a sole proprietor work comp policy that they've excluded themselves. But what it does do is pick up that exposure if they hired someone else. So it's truly a really good product. It's so good, and we run into this. So HoundDog, as you can imagine, you guys tell us what insurance that you want. We go out and request it. We see all the time when work comp is not there. We see it so often that we're like, my gosh, we should solve this. So my co-founders could kill me for saying that. We are in the process of trying to create this low-cost employer excluded work comp policy. We have a partner we're in the works, and we hope in the week or two we'll have something somewhere around the $1,400 range that we can pass along and say, okay, your subs say they don't need comp. How about $1,400? Can they do that? So there's going to be that option in the future. And then another way to reduce risk, obviously, is to get that subcontractor agreement or MSA signed. So not everyone has it. Probably everyone should. It lays down the general rules, and it usually includes risk transfer clauses, hold harmless agreements, things like that. Okay, audits. Man, everyone loves audits. I'm sure Eric loved that audit back in the day. But so what are these annual insurance audits? So each year, an auditor will come knocking, and someone on your team may be doing this, maybe you. But if you're missing a COI, it could have significant financial implications. Eric shared his $35,000 story. I know of another one locally that was a $25,000 story. Bad story, obviously. When I was an agent back in the day, literally I would have to call my insureds and say, guys, you missed this, and it for $12,000. Just made me sick. And again, a very big part of why I wanted to start HoundDog. I just wanted to solve this problem. Now, a warning to some of you newer businesses that are out there, and I've talked to a lot of you guys, by the way. You may not have been audited yet. Again, you're sometimes in that building mode where you're like, you're just trying to build your company. You're not thinking about all the things you should probably be doing. And that's when problems happen. So I can't tell you how many times newer in business, people are like, I've never been audited. I'm good. And you almost think that you won't. You will. And it can get very expensive when things like that happen. Okay. Few tips here, how to save money on insurance and avoid audit surprises. So again, putting my agent hat on here a little bit. So, want to save money on insurance. You can do that by classifying your employees and subs correctly. Again, we're getting a little bit away from COIs here, but I just want to bring up this point. In the construction world, general liability and work comp, it's really based off of how much employee payroll you have, your subcontractor expenses, and then sometimes on gross sales as well. But if you misclassify, so, I can't tell you how many times I saw someone that didn't classify an employee at all or a sub's expenses very well, And then at audit time, these auditors come in and go, oh, you paid, let's see, you paid Texas Roofing Company, $4,800 or $48,000. And then you really know that they did gutter work, but they are named Texas Roofing. You're now getting billed about 10 times the rate that a gutter company would, or a gutter classification or a gutter services would. So if I can tell you anything, it's make sure up front, like your auditors, if you come in and if you have your book set and you have drywall companies set up and you have a gutter company, if you put in roofing company, I can promise you it's going to be very expensive. So all I'm saying is, if you have 80% siding work and 20% roofing work, I promise you're going to get a much better rate if you can keep them in that gutter classification or exterior remodeling classification. Eric, did that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have one question here too. So Zori said, we're going through a current GL audit. Does anyone know if we got the missing COIs from last year, will it still hurt us?
Yeah, well, I can speak to your audit. Your auditor is going to come in and say, I need to see your, who you paid, and I need to see your COIs from, a 1 year past. So it's basically that audit period of your policy period. So they're going to come in and say, your policy period is, let's say, 8/1 to 8/1/2024. Let me see all the COIs that you needed to have during that time period, and based off of the contractors that you paid. So yeah, you will need to catch sometimes previous year and then ongoing years as well, just to make sure you can comply. Okay. Additional saving money tips to avoid audit surprises. Again, require work comp. I know that's going to be tough, so that you don't end up paying. I think that's the goal. Don't allow subs to work without a COI at all. Even if you trust them, I know multiple examples of people that were in business for a very long time. They just trusted them. Something happened, and they just didn't have a COI. So there are things. I mean, things happen in life. We all know that, where maybe you just didn't renew your policy, or you have a claim without. So there can be issues with that, certainly. Keep incredible track of your COIs. Often you can simply, often you can't find your sub before an audit. I mean, I've seen that happen many times, and Eric, you may have seen that before. You're like, oh my gosh, it's audit time, and now where the heck is this person? They may be out of business and, in another state by now. So, just keeping incredible track and staying on top of that's really smart. And then, this is happening more, by the way. I'm talking to East Coast agencies that are like, this is happening. So, if you can have a really diligent COI tracking process, if you, a HoundDog or something like that, to be honest, I mean, it is a great narrative to say, hey, could I get a reduced premium? This is how well we're mitigating risk up front. Talk to the agent about that, who will talk to the carrier about that. Like, if you have really good risk mitigation, you have that MSA or that subcontractor agreement signed and things are tight. If your COI tracking process is tight, you will get better rates as a construction company, undoubtedly. Okay, so now kind of getting into the COIs here, ways to track COIs. This is probably what most of you are doing. We have a folder, and by the way, this is great. Like, I've seen this many times. You probably have a whole bunch of COIs in this folder, and they're probably from 2019 and 2021 and, all these different random dates, but that's better than nothing. And oftentimes we also see this. We've got a spreadsheet of, this honestly gives me anxiety. I'm looking at it, but every time I see this, and so what you do with this, you have to keep track and what's the expiration date and what are they missing. Actually, JobTread really has a good front end way to do this. So in settings, and I think you guys go through this with kind of your customer success managers, but you can set up a COI tracking field that I think is brilliant. So you can go in there and create, COI expiration date, and already out of the box with JobTread, which again is pretty unique and really great. So then you go into your vendors and you can see, and again, this is a manual thing, but you can go in and put in that COI expiration date. And now that on, let's see, August 8th, that's when the policy is expiring. So I think that's great in and of itself. Now, like I said, that is still manual. and when we're talking manual, let's talk about some of the problems of that, right? Like this is what a lot of people that are tracking COIs look like, I think. The process of collecting COIs and reading through them, it's just plain time consuming. It's hard. Like just collecting that whole process, it's not a lot of fun. There is a lot of back and forth. So, you get a COI, it's like, oh crap, you're missing comp, or you're missing my additional insured or my cert holder name. Like you got all this crap that's going on that you have to get from your sub. It's also difficult to organize and store certs. When you have multiple expiration dates, when do you go get them, when do you don't? In JobTread, again, you can set those, which I think is great. But sometimes maybe it's not set up for you guys, and you have to keep track of when to go get those. Renewals are getting missed. We know this. Every single company that we've talked to is missing some renewals. So, and often, actually, nearly 80% of the time, which is a weird stat, but nearly 80% of the time that we collect COIs, it's missing something for our clients up front, which is a pretty staggering number. Like, these are good. Wait a minute, they're not good because it's missing additional insured, or, comp isn't enough. All those can increase risk. Getting a full view of compliance. Again, if you have JobTread, you can see a better view of compliance. We have a lot of customers that don't have JobTread that can't see a full view of compliance. They've got one person that knows, an admin at the office, and no one else, no ownership, no stakeholders, no people just don't know who's truly a compliant sub. And, what I think is always the biggest problem is, everyone moved, you guys, you are JobTread users. You moved there to try to control the chaos and try to slow things down and keep things tight. Well, when you use internal staff to go down, chase down paperwork and payroll, it's just inefficient. Automate these things, use the things like JobTread, use the things like HoundDog to really, just improve processes and control the chaos sometimes.
So Rusty, we got another question or comment here. So Brad said I'm assuming it's very important to be listed as the certificate holder on the sub COI, as you'll be notified on a policy cancellation and therefore no surprises. Is that what you've seen?
So this is kind of a difficult one to even really talk through, because honestly, if you're just a certificate holder, it doesn't give you rights. You're not additional insured at that point. A certificate holder. So yes, you're that certificate. Doesn't mean that they don't have coverage if you're not. No. Now, if you are an additional insured, if you require your sub to list you as an additional insured, you have to be listed as a certificate holder on there to get that coverage as that additional insured. So whereas a certificate really is just a proof of insurance, and yes, it's nice to have your name on there because especially the next year, they'll send it to you hopefully as well, easily. If really on that, if you're asking for additional insured status, that's when you have to have it on there. Good question. Real good question. But now, and I should say, that doesn't mean that you will automatically get a cancellation notice, just for the record. Like, agents don't have to do it. 1% will. So just don't expect, even if you're an additional insured on there and you have everything, you must tell me if you cancel. Agents don't have to do that. And most of the time it just doesn't happen. So that's the reality of it. Okay, so going from manual to using automation. So, how can HoundDog help? So essentially, it's a couple steps, and we're going for this in an automated way. So basically, we would create a HoundDog account. Anyone would create a HoundDog account. We'd set up insurance requirements. What do you guys need from your subs? So that's kind of basic steps, and I'll show you how we do that. The very next thing is, as soon as we know who we're tracking, we go out, we reach out and say, hey, could we please have a certificate of insurance via email? We get it, we read it using AI and machine learning. We match it against what you need. If they're missing anything at all, if they're missing work comp, if they're missing additional insured, they're missing umbrella, auto, whatever you need from them, if they're missing it, we tell them, and we tell them how to fix it. Great, thank you for your COI, but please make these fixes. So everything is stored automatically in the dashboard, and then we know when the renewal dates are. Like it could have 4 different expiration dates. We're going to automatically go get it. So as opposed to just maybe manually knowing what the expiration date is and doing all these things, we reach out again. We read through everything. We push back if something's wrong, we store, and we automatically get renewals. So really, really efficient use of technology, and something we're proud of at HoundDog. So, okay, steps of the integration. This is actually fantastic. It is really very simple. So set up a HoundDog account. So that's kind of the first step. So there are 3 steps basically. So we'll play a video of how we would essentially create an account. We normally do this first step 90% for you, and then just hand the keys off just to make your lives easier, really. So we set up your business name. Do you call your contractors trades or subcontractors or whatever that you want to use? You know, do you want to collect W-9s? Yes or no? We can do that as well. We go down and we also will put your certificate holder information in there for you, so you don't have to again. I'm just trying to speed up the process for you. So your address. And then down here, I'm going to pause this for a second. This is where we talk about the communication settings. In this particular case, we've got the communications. You know, I need a COI going out on business days only. So basically we have a series of 4 emails that go out. The first one's like, hey, would you please get us a COI? And number 4 is like, urgent, 5-alarm fire, we need your COI ASAP. And so there's a 3-day delay between those. And we always include, or at least always try to include a note in here that's specific to you, because they'll get an email. They're like, what is this? I've never heard of HoundDog. What is this, spam? But this note really brings them back and makes them feel comfortable. So basically it'll say something like, and some of you guys on mobile probably can't see this at all, but it'll say something like, we are using HoundDog for subcontractor compliance. If you have any questions at all, please contact Jim at XYZ Construction. Here's my phone number. So it makes them feel really good about it. There are going to be some calls, but they're going to feel good about seeing that language, certainly when they get those emails. So, that's kind of step 1 is general settings. We also add users and things like that. You can add as many as you want. In terms of users, we don't charge on a user basis, only on the number of parties tracked or subcontractors tracked. So the second part of setup is, again, I mentioned this, but just creating your insurance requirements. So what are they? I mean, every organization is different. These are pretty typical of what I see with contractors: $1 million, $2 million GL, and work comp. And then it's just, what types of limits do we want? But there are all kinds of auto umbrella. We can add pollution. We can add anything that you guys want. And of course, we have different types of vendors that have different needs on that. Okay. So that's setup. Step 2, copy and paste the grant key. So this is the step that you guys will do. And again, very simple. So once we kind of go through this, if we did a JobTread HoundDog integration together, we'd set that up. We'd make you feel really good about it. As soon as you're ready to go, as soon as you're ready to connect accounts, all we have to do is copy and paste the grant key from JobTread into HoundDog. So you guys will go into your settings area and integrations and go down to HoundDog and just copy and paste code. It's like a little password that we just now put into HoundDog. And let's see, into the settings area, JobTread. You copy and paste that grant key. Everything's connected at that point. So we'll start bringing vendors in. There are some advanced settings, and this isn't too advanced, but do you want to submit all COIs to JobTread that we collect? Yes, so we would set those up for you, get that set up. But in the meantime, it's pulled all of your vendors, actually all of your vendors from JobTread now are into HoundDog, all under do not track, because we don't want to charge you for Home Depots. You don't need COIs from them. But then individually, or if you have a couple hundred subs, we could do this in bulk. But individually, all we will have to do is then take them off of do not track to start tracking. So again, many different types of vendors in your JobTread account. We only want to go after the subs for the COIs, right? Or whoever else you want to go after. And so that's kind of step 3 is identifying the subs you want to collect COIs from. So I'll play this clip. We're simply going into your vendors area, or you're going into your vendors area, and you're like, okay, Dr. Concrete, I need to start tracking insurance from them. So this is what pulls over these 4 fields when the integration occurs. So insurance requirements, and there's do not track, and this will drop down in a second. You'll kind of see how that works. We'll pull, once we get a COI, we'll get the first policy expiration date. You'll always be able to see that. Are they insurance compliant or not? And this HoundDog link, by the way, goes directly back to HoundDog. And we won't get into this today, but there's a plethora of information that you can get in the HoundDog, on the HoundDog site. So you'll be able to see all kinds of information of, what messages have gone out, when they became compliant, did they put agent information in? So there's kind of a cool thing to see all the activity that's happening with the vendor. You can also request a COI manually from the platform. Don't want to go too far with that, but just know that you can do a lot by linking back the HoundDog from this link. So that's, by the way, that's your existing vendors. So so you click here, and that's how you select that, how you start the process of the emails going out. And I'll show you an example here in just a second on that. So let's say you have a new vendor. You want to put a new vendor in a JobTread. You just put in, in this case, Rusty's, what do we go with? Rusty's Landscaping. And then we're going to go down and select insurance requirements, right? Take them off, do not require or do not track, to track standard subcontractor insurance requirements, create vendor, and it's done. So that sends, either way, whether you have an existing vendor or whether you are adding a new, as soon as you take them off do not track to track subcontractor insurance requirements, it's on. The process is going. Now, I will say, if you already have an expiration in, some of you are probably using that field, we can honor that expiration date. We will go after a COI until that expiration date happens. So, if you're already tracking, if you don't want to use the system until that date, we're good. So we could do it that way as well. This is kind of an example of that email that goes out. Again, you guys on mobile probably can't see that well, but XYZ construction needs proof of insurance, hire Rusty's Landscaping, XYZ needs a COI. I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready to do work. This may be a little spammy. Do I click on this? And then you get down to this note from XYZ Construction that says, hey, we're using HoundDog. Contact our office if you have any questions. Again, makes everyone feel really good about it. Click view insurance requirements here. And that leads them to this page, which is, this is what we have to have. These are the coverages. So $1 million, $2 million, work comp, 500,000 levels, the certificate holder name and information. The first call to action here, we want them to send this to the agent. So, if we can get their agent's information here, it's great because they just forward that to their agent. By the way, as putting my agent hat back on, I get calls all the time that said, hey, Rusty, I need a COI. I'm like, okay, for who? And they could usually tell me that. I'm like, what's the address? They don't know. What coverages do we need? They don't know. So this is a really good way to pass that information along to the agent or the CSR or the account manager that's involved in that. If they don't use this, then they can just, upload a certificate themselves. They have it, just drop it in this drop area. Very simple. And if they email it to you, if they just email it to you direct, I think it's better to push them into say, hey, use the system as designed. But if they email you, no problem. You can just go into HoundDog and upload that to that specific vendor. So pretty straightforward how to use that, I hope. Okay. Last couple slides here. I think you can just do much more with the integration. So, what are the key benefits? We've mentioned some of these, but set it and forget it. COI collections begin immediately once a JobTread vendor is turned from do not track to track. Very simple and straightforward once it's set up. Everyone can view subcontractor compliance at a glance. Anyone that wants to go into HoundDog and see a lot more detail is able to do that from that link. We're going to avoid, you guys are not going to have to look through the COIs like you used to and explain to your subs maybe what's missing. We're going to tell them what's missing. Your work comp limit is not enough. It's super clear. Renewal collection and re-verification is automatic. I think it's probably the biggest piece of this. You don't have to think about it again. It's automatic. The document storage is both in HoundDog and a JobTread. As soon as we turn that on, it pushes everything into JobTread as well. If you want to capture other documents, if you want to use, I think JobTread has some functionality for this, but if you want to use HoundDog for W-9s and contracts, you can do that. I almost forgot about this. The insurance audit tool, this is something that you guys are going to love. Built by an agent because I saw the needs for this. So all you have to do is put in your insurance audit period, click download, and it pulls every COI that fell within those dates. Kind of back to that attendee question. I mean, it's literally that simple. Put in your dates and we'll collect all the COIs, put them in a folder, and then you could just hand that off to your auditor. So you'll still have to tell them, you know, who you paid, but I promise that we're going to help the audit side immensely when it comes to the audit that'll happen. And then kind of finally, you know, big key benefit, it's scalable. You guys can go from 40 subs to 80 to 800. Like the system is set. Very much so similar to how JobTread system works. It's just scalable. You also, you know, sometimes you lose people in-house. And if your internal resources change, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to find where that folder is or what Dropbox, you know, that all those CIs were in. It's there. Like it's there all for the very next person. You know, if that was the if there was a change there. So, oh, good. Sam, there's Sam.
Hey, Rusty.
Yeah. I wanted to introduce Sam. Absolutely an amazing guy. I think Eric would say the same thing. I'm glad we all know Sam, but Sam is a recent HoundDog JobTread integration customer, and we thought he'd come on today and just maybe say a few words. Hopefully nice, Sam.
Yeah. I'm here to race you over the coals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as one could probably expect, I can't put it any better than you did. But so I guess for everyone out there, it never occurred to me to automate the COI tracking process until we saw this announcement through the marketplace through JobTread. I thought, wow, I don't know, that seems like an awesome opportunity to take a relatively simple but laborious task and just automate it using the magic of AI. So reached out to Rusty, got it set up, and it really was as easy as that video walked us through. I mean, you plug in that grant key, you set the field for whoever you do want to track through HoundDog, and then just take your hands off. And it was so exciting the first time to see that someone who was non-compliant switched to compliant, and you go into look at your vendors tab, and it's just there, like magically, their new updated COI is there with the correct expiration field updated. It was really, really cool. And I think part of what makes it effective is it's really easy for the end user, i.e. your vendors, to upload the information. I think you see that all the time with software. JobTread's a great example. We use it because it's easy to use. And HoundDog is really easy not only for us to use, but also for your vendors. Particularly like being able to hit forward and just send it to your agent, and they can upload it and they don't have to be involved at all. I saw a couple of our vendors do that, in fact, and it was definitely the fastest reply we've gotten in COIs.
So Sam, was this your responsibility beforehand? Were you having to manually do all this?
You know, it was a different member of our team in our sort of our billing finance department. But I saw that it was, I mean, she didn't complain about it, but I saw it was painful, and it seemed like such a simple thing, to outsource to the teams.
And how many subs do you guys use?
So in JobTread, we've got about 200 vendors logged in there, though we're pretty tactful about who we're marking as, like, please send us, some of them are roofers, we may have worked with a couple of years ago. So when we actually, that was kind of the beauty of the HoundDog integration too. When it comes time to establish the integration, we set specifically who we wanted to track, which, just made it simpler.
Yeah. And did you communicate to the subs ahead of time that they were going to be, getting this email and going through this process? I mean, obviously everyone kind of has their own renewal dates. So like, was that something that you put out there? Did you just kind of enable it and letting it happen?
Yeah, great question. I just enabled it. Yeah. Jesus, take the wheel. And there was one person called and he's like, hey, is this legit? And we said, yes, it is. And he's like, all right, I'll upload it. And another guy called right away. He's like, hey, I got the HoundDog thing. My agent's on it. And then another guy just uploaded it right away within like the first day, no communication at all. He's just like, he must have thought this looks fine, and it just took care of itself.
Yeah. It's funny because, I saw the same, just like it was such a hassle for this lady Adriana at our company. dealing with this, and like it was just something that like it's just one more thing that she had to stay on top of, and that's where like originally like I was like, all right, well in JobTread we need to have these custom fields, we need to set up these views where we can see who's COI is expiring, and I set it to where it was like, okay, who's expiring in the next 60 days, so that we could start hounding them and start getting in front of it, because they never got it in on time, like. And it was just like going through that audit and getting fined. I mean, like it was just like a gut wrenching, like, where are we supposed to come up with $35,000? Like that was not in the plan. That was not in the budget, but like we don't, it really felt terrible. And then, just to have Rusty come along and like show me like, wow, like just the whole thing is automated. Like it just blew my mind, and I think it's just such a neat, way to really take one of those, as you said, Sam, like a very laborious task and just put it on autopilot.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like for anyone who's running their business and also doing the COI tracking, it's like, it's a relatively small thing, but it's like it just adds to the cognitive load. It just divides your time and energy, and it's just such a simple one. I mean, with this integration to offload.
Yeah,
that's amazing, Sam. Great to hear. Of course, new integration, newer. Great to hear. Great feedback from you. I think you're a testament to a really great business that's trying to do things right, and obviously taking that step with JobTread and HoundDog. I think it's a great combination, and appreciate your support and feedback.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Thanks for all the help onboarding, actually, Rusty. It
100%.
was just like the JobTread experience, having a dedicated person to just kind of get you going.
Well, love it, and obviously my door's open. Email me anytime, call me anytime. Like you see something you think we should improve on, we're all ears. Like that's all we're doing is trying to improve that way. And I know that JobTread's the same way.
Yeah, we've already heard a couple great ideas coming out of this too, like a way to like show that status, whether they're approved or not. Showing that somehow more in the UI. We're kind of looking at how we might be able to sort of help take this a step even further. But yeah, it's appreciate you, Sam. Being willing to hop on there and share your experience so far. We did have one question came in from Julie. She said some of our trade partners are not tech friendly. If they struggle with uploading, what options do they have? So I don't know if that's for Rusty or Sam. I mean, has anyone had trouble uploading a document, or how would you address that?
I think sometimes they just won't upload a document, and there may be a little bit of both. We do make it easy. What wasn't very visually, you couldn't see that you could literally just drag and drop into that drop zone. I would say one, hey, just forward that email along to your agent if possible. But two, it can all be done. If someone walked in and gave you a COI, at least in the HoundDog system, all you'd have to do is you would just upload it yourself. So there's an upload button on a specific vendor. You manually upload it if you want. And then that starts the whole process. So, it checks and does that. So, yeah, Sam, I don't know if you had anything on that or not.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have an old school plumber. When we sent him a bid request through JobTread, he types something on his computer, prints it, and then takes a photo with his cell phone and,
Yeah.
and texts it to us. And that's his bid. So, as you can imagine, he's yeah, he probably wouldn't be the first one to use an upload feature. And if he just wants to email it, then we still have the power. You can do a manual upload yourself, and it still saved a hell of a lot of time because it's just one instead of 30, 40.
And I will say we get pictures like that all the time, Sam. And we have basically a back office staff. When we get a picture of a COI that's upside down, or a picture of a cat, like we've gotten all kinds of crazy things in terms of what people send us. We have to have a human queue. I would love to say AI takes care of it all, but we do have, because we really want to be very accurate, we have a human queue that looks at anything that's really off, including, self-taken portraits and photos of COIs.
Yeah. See, Marlana has a question. So we currently track COIs in a separate project management program. Is there a way to get the vendor and COIs into JobTread without entering and uploading it all manually to integrate HoundDog for compliance tracking? So if you're able to run an export or some sort of report out of that system, I mean, you can definitely import the data into JobTread. In order to get all of the files, you probably would have to download them and then move them over. Depending on how many this is, I mean we do have a way to have someone sort of help do some manual effort if that's if you got hundreds of them. Certainly reach out to your customer success person. We can put you in touch with our data migration team. But yeah, you should be able to, hopefully you can import kind of all the dates and everything. And then, once the renewal passes, as Rusty said, it'll just automatically kick in and go get it for you.
Yeah. And in that download, if there's a spreadsheet or something that, has the expiration date, we can just honor that expiration date and go forward from there.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's see. Also wondering if asking for W-9s will require an additional cost or subscription from HoundDog. So I think you might have. You leading into pricing?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. Yep. Let's go on. Sam, thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
So pricing wise, I'm sure you guys have probably been on this webinar the whole time thinking, what is the price? How much is this? So Eric and I talked about a package together. So, and a lot of you have 40 or subs less that you're tracking. So we have a very affordable, I think, package, $29 a month, up to 40 subs. So if you have 10, 20 subs, $29, you jump all the way up to 40 and expand, it's still going to be that $29 a month. There's a discount for all others. So just think about this as if our standard pricing is $1 per month per sub. So if you have 100 subs, it's $100 a month. But with the JobTread discount, take 20% off that. So whatever your number is, just think of it as $1 per month, and then add a 20% discount on there. So like 100 subs with JobTread would be 80. So we are not charging. This is kind of out of the box package for JobTread, but we're not charging for W-9s with that package. Now, if you want to add contractor, subcontractor agreement signing, lien waiver signing, there's an additional fee on that, but it's generally $10, $15 a month to do the online signing. So that's not going to be too much for you. But W-9s, certainly in that under 40 subs package, is going to be included. Just let me know how many W-9s we would need to be tracking outside of that number. And I should say, since we have another paragraph here, this is very easy to start. So we really try to say, we want to bring you value. If you don't think there's value, then you don't have to use HoundDog, but there's no annual contract. We again, track only, we charge for contract subs, and it's unlimited users. So it doesn't matter if you have 1 or 20, they can all be users in our platform. And there's virtually no work at all. I think you guys saw how easy it is to connect. We try to take that work off your plate, set up the HoundDog account, have a kickoff meeting, show you, make sure you feel great about it, and then you guys do the connection and it's on. So super straightforward.
Yeah, this is something that, again, I was very excited when, when I saw what Rusty and the HoundDog team were doing. I was like, man, this is awesome. This is great. But what's it going to cost? I've seen a lot more expensive programs. They got big minimums, Again, as I told Rusty right at the beginning, like I want to make sure that this is, cost effective. It's affordable for any size contractor, whether, you're just getting started, you got just a handful of subs, or you're doing, 10, 20, $30 million a year and you got thousands of subs. It was very important that this was something that was going to be, scalable and affordable, for all size contractors. And then when he showed me the price, like I just super excited. We appreciate the additional special discount for all of the JobTread community, which, again, that means a lot as well. So, very, very excited for what you have built here, Rusty. I think you guys have clearly put a lot of, time and effort and just your experience being an agent, really understanding from the other side of things. I think is very clear how helpful that has been to build a system that can, help other contractors go through this and hopefully minimize all of their potential fees and issues later down the road.
Yeah, thank you.
One question. So I see someone on someone said, can you explain on the website, can you go over the 3 tiers shown on the website? Is that maybe that's the Light, Pro, and Enterprise?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually need to do some modification to go outside that. Don't even think about that because what we put together, with JobTread are these packages that don't really include that. So basically, what we have is not the light tier, but the pro tier for JobTread with extras. So if you go to the HoundDog website, it's a little bit different than what we offer to the JobTread customers. But yeah, you guys are basically getting everything. What you don't get are some of the usually larger enterprise things like open API, things like that. So, if you're a large organization enterprise, you want us to, connect with your system in some way, we can do that. There's obviously an additional charge for that, but you guys are going to literally get everything that you can imagine outside of the contract signing, which is just a hard cost that we just have to, obviously charge a little bit more for.
And for anyone who's interested, you can go directly to the JobTread marketplace. You find the marketplace as well as on the integrations. You'll find HoundDog. I think there's also a link right there to schedule, time to get a walkthrough. I highly recommend you all at least take the time to meet with Rusty and his team, because again, if nothing else, you're getting free consulting, free advice on what you need to do. And even if you choose to go do it manually, at least now you have the education and the knowledge of what needs to happen. Again, eventually you're probably going to grow, and that could, just not make sense for you to have that on your plate and potentially drop those balls. And so, I think just being able to really kind of get that evaluation, kind of get that discussion with HoundDog going, it could make a lot of sense for you and your team. I see Brian has done a great job keeping up with the chat, a little bit better than I've been able to do. So I appreciate you, Brian, answering those questions. Are there any that we missed? Any? Nathan here. If I discontinue my subscription, do I lose access to the COIs collected?
Definitely not. Yeah, everything. So we'll push everything into HoundDog, or excuse me, into JobTread. So yeah, you'll have. Well, it'll be both places. Disconnect. It'll still be in HoundDog. We can send that to you. We're not a company like that. If you want something, we're gonna help you out. But it's also going to be in JobTread. We're going to push those COIs in the JobTread.
So it looks like Angie here, maybe you can go back a slide or two to the pricing. She just wanted to, again, kind of how much does the subscription cost?
All depends on the number of subs or parties or vendors being tracked. So, you'll have to identify how many subs that you want. And again, if it's 50, it's $50 a month. Take 20% off that, so it'd be $40 a month. Hope that makes sense. You feel free to email me too. And like Eric said, you can go into the JobTread integration side, contact me through there. You can get a quote, like, whatever you want to do, however you want to, just ask some questions. Glad to answer individual questions on how much it's going to cost if we need to, for sure.
All right. So hopefully everybody got their questions answered. If we missed any, maybe, paste them back into the chat real quick. It'll be easiest for us to see that. Does the $1 per month pricing count archived subs as well? No, so it's not clear that this is only going to be the ones that you have set to track. So anything that you don't want tracked, you're not going to have them enabled and being tracked in HoundDog. It's only for the active ones. All right, Brad, awesome stuff, guys. Signing off. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming out to learn a little bit more about the importance of tracking your subcontractors, their certificate of insurances. We've got a great solution here with HoundDog, how you can automate it. Whatever path you decide to do, just be sure you're doing it. Having that information, just don't wait to get audited, because you don't want to end up having that cash flow. Again, this does not need to cost you anything. I saw Jeffrey Convert earlier said, if your subs aren't paying for their insurance, then you're paying for them. You don't need to be doing that. That is their cost. All you got to do is make sure that you collect that information, have the documentation, be smart. Don't let these fees come and get you, because there's nothing worse than having to pay additional fees, when nothing happens. So, be diligent, make sure you got the right solution for you and your company. And if there's any way that, Rusty or us over here at JobTread can help you, please don't hesitate to reach out. We appreciate everyone coming out today and learning a little bit, and hope you got value out of it.